security, extensive economic analysis, interviews, and world power play.
Nigerians must choose the path they want to follow. Follow the same looters and sponsors of violence who control the political structures or encourage the formation of a new leadership team.
Be a global citizen and join the radio revolution on State Affairs. State Affairs with Edmond Obilo. Radio just got deeper.
Daganan kilo petening kom lomoham di petamaso sanalom huasa benge kaputo
State Affairs.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo.
Thinking that we have not searched enough. What are we searching for? I'm looking at the search for visionary leadership. Do you think we have searched enough? Myriads of problems have been placed before the country, before the people of the country. Solutions have been suggested. Some have been implemented. Many have not been implemented. Even when implementation has taken place, it is not effectively pursued. So what is wrong? Visionary leadership. Is visionary leadership not the light that guides nations? What do you think? As I study history, it continues to show me that nations rise and fall on the quality of their leadership. Have you found out that proposition in your research? That nations rise or fall on the quality of their leadership. So one point I need to make at this time in the life of our country is that at the heart of great leadership is vision. When I talk about vision, I talk about a clear, compelling picture of the future. If you listened to J.F. Kennedy's dream of America going to space, he was looking into the future. And that singular vision is behind the astronomical growth in technological explosion in the 21st century. But it took a man like J.F. Kennedy to have that vision. The Soviet Union also went to space. It's about vision. When you look into the future, you don't just think of today. You're looking at 50 years ahead. Once you do that in a positive way, you are a visionary. So when I talk about vision, I'm talking about a clear, compelling picture of the future, combined with the courage to pursue it. It's not just about the picture you see. It's about what we call the political will to do what is good. So we have listened to presidential speeches. We have listened to governors' inauguration speeches, projecting into the future, making visionary statements. And when you listen to the statements, the speeches, it arouses hope in you. But before long, you discover that they are mere statements. Yes, the vision is there, but by mere speaking of a vision does not make you a visionary leader. So visionary leadership is also about the courage to pursue your vision. Are you in class this morning? Welcome to class. You can meet me on Twitter. Join the class on Twitter. You can join the class on YouTube. And you can join the class on Splash FM Facebook page. So come to class, let's talk together. Let's reason about the future. Let's understand the kind of leadership we want. And let's see how we can achieve it. And let's look at the possibility of creating the structures to achieving it. You know, many have complained about the Constitution, how it was crafted, how it was deployed, the defects of the Constitution. But we've not had that visionary leadership to say we can redraw this Constitution comprehensively to solve most of the anomalies of the time. But I must make the point No constitution is so perfect as to solve all the problems of the time. That is why you require visionary leadership to set up the institutions that are able to close the lacuna. So when I talk about visionary leaders, I talk of men and women who do not merely react to circumstances, they shape them. They see beyond the present. They see beyond obstacles. They see beyond limitations. So a visionary leader comes and says, oh, we don't have money to execute the project. They say, no, we can create the money to execute the project. So they create the money and they execute the project. They see beyond obstacles. It also applies to your personal life. Are you visionary? How come when you wake up, all you see is obstacles? So when you wake up in your life and all you see is obstacles, why you will not make it? Why Nigeria will not make it? It can also explain your vision of the future. Especially at the personal level. If you are that person who is always negative, you don't have that great dream, then you are not visionary. Visionary leaders inspire their people to dream bigger. When you see a visionary leader, the people begin to dream bigger. You can see what is going on in China. They are competing at the best level with America in technological transformation. It's not just about the Chinese government. It's about the Chinese people. A leader will make you dream bigger, work harder, and build a better tomorrow. The program is State Affairs on Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Gbogbo yogurt ní àrà tá a gbé dé pẹ̀lú àrà ọ̀tọ̀ àti àǹfààní ní jàǹtìrẹrẹ. Ó pọ̀ ní wàrà, ó yin mọ̀mọ́, ó sì tún dùn yàtọ̀. Gbogbo èròjà probiotics àti minerals tí ń lé àìsàn àti ìlera gbogbo ni ó pín sínú ìgò blue 180 ml ní apple, vanilla àti orange flavours láti mú ọmọ rẹ tayọ.
Stay tuned.
For Africa, visionary leadership is not a luxury. It is a necessity. A continent rich in resources, a continent rich in talent, a continent grounded in culture suffers for visionary leadership. Why is it so? Africa needs visionary leaders. Nigeria urgently needs visionary leaders. Leaders who can harness the strengths of the people for the good of the country. Leaders who can move beyond personal gain and short-term politics to think generationally. You think generationally. It is critical. But most of the leaders we have at the moment, they think short-term. So have you wondered why no government since 1999 has been able to fix the problems of electricity? Because they think short term. Since 1999, no Nigerian president has been able to fix electricity. It is getting worse. The people are paying more for poor service. Even in Band A areas, the transformer breaks down. You see the landlords running around to contribute money to fix the transformer, yet it is Band A. That is a sign that there is no visionary leadership. When a hospital, a world-class hospital of the past, like UCH, goes for months without electricity, no matter the issue, it tells you it is not a country governed by visionary leaders. Remember I said a world-class hospital of the past. That means it has lost that status of a world-class hospital. Who knows? A government might come tomorrow and convert part of UCH to hostels, or they'll convert it to hotel. They will soon sell some of the schools and convert it to event centers. You look at the thriving businesses, hotels, event centers. They are also good, no doubt. Churches, more mosques, less industries. So you now find the country praying from morning to night. The president comes in, everybody stands up, well, let's pray. The governor walks in, everybody stands up, let's pray. It's a country that has lost touch with its powers to transform itself. We're talking about visionary leaders. Leaders who can move beyond personal gain and short-term politics to think generationally. Leaders who understand that true power is not in amassing wealth, but in empowering their people. The kind of money African leaders steal gives you the impression that it can only be defined as foolishness. When the people steal what they can't even spend, 1 billion. If I give you 1 billion now, you just... That's why you see they go mad. When you wake up in the morning, all of a sudden you just make 1 billion. You just go crazy. Because you even know what to do with it. You have not planned for it. You don't have a vision of it. So when you see somebody steals 1 billion, he has no vision of it. So the only thing the person will be doing is ostentatious spending, looking for where to buy houses, looking for where to hide them, looking for where to travel to, looking for cars to buy. So at the end of the day, you go to their compounds, they have fleets of cars, and sometimes they drive one of the cars once in a year. Sometimes they don't drive them at all. They cover them with canopies. And within that vicinity are poor people begging for alms. And within that system are broken down infrastructure. The worst thing that can happen to you is when you have some of the best cars and ride them on terrible roads. If you look at Ibadan now, you can see the beauty of good roads, especially when you drive in the town. Bodija, Mokola. You want to drive your car. If Seyi Makinde can sustain that, we go into the inner roads, you discover you will spend less money maintaining your car. Some of the cars we drive, some people have driven them about 10 or 11 years in Europe or America. You see, when those cars come in, they look clean and neat. Have you asked why? Those cars were driven on good roads. Here, it's either you are fixing suspension, your shock absorber is bad, you are fighting your mechanic about brake pad, you are suspecting that your mechanic is spoiling your car so that you continue to bring it back. Your mechanic is, that's why there's so much fight. Your mechanic may also cheat you, because we have created that opportunity for conflict. It is due to lack of visionary leadership. I'm talking about leaders who understand that true power is not in amassing wealth, but in empowering their people. What does it mean to be a visionary leader? What qualities define them? And who are the men and women, past and present, who have embodied this vision? Obafemi Awolowo was a visionary leader. Listen to him.
Welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
But I must warn that I have written only for those Nigerians who are prepared to learn, to study, to make painstaking research, to abjure prejudices, and to think systematically and constructively. Up to now, it is the habit with many of us to approach the titanic, intricate, and pressing problems of our country with blameworthy casualness, insufficient study and research, loose and desultory thinking, supercilious complacency, deep-seated prejudices, and insensate partisanship. I've deliberately ventured to invite all our leaders in particular, and the entire body of educated Nigerians in general, to a more serious, more objective, more thoughtful, more constructive, and more altruistic approach to our economic, political, and social problems.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Reflect on those words of Obafemi Awolowo. Reflect. Reflect. The qualities of a visionary leader. I've talked about clarity of purpose. A visionary leader has a clear sense of direction. He knows where he's going. If you study that Wood's book, you see he always have a plan that he launches, and you can read it. You can see he knows where he's going. That is why when Shea Makinde came with Omi Tutun 1.0, he said, this is where I am going. In 6 months, this is where I will be. Yes, sometimes you might not be able to meet it because of the challenges you will meet as you go, but you have a target. Do you have that in your personal life too? Because sometimes when you also critique the leaders, also look at your personal life. How far have you done for yourself? You know, it's always easy to say, it's because of government. That is why I'm poor and broke. You always put it. The poor always have somebody to blame. Yes, the government has also impoverished people, no doubt. But there are also men and women in this country who, through their shared brilliance, have moved themselves forward. Yes, not everybody in Nigeria is corrupt. There are innovative minds in this country that have, through their brilliance, moved themselves forward. So do you have a plan? The way you want a government to have a plan, do you have a personal plan that you wake up every morning, you say, no, this is my target for today. This is my target for this week, and this is my target for next month. And then you appraise yourself. Once you begin to develop such personal tendencies, you are beginning to put yourself on the ladder of visionary leaders. You must have the courage to act. Vision without action is a dream. Yes, many of us are dreamers. Oh, I want to be rich. I want to be like Dangote. And you just be dreaming about it. Every day you are growing poorer, yet you dream of being rich. There must be something wrong with you. To be rich is not wrong, but you must have plans. How do I get there? That means by the end of this month, I want to make 100,000. I want to have saved 100,000. And how do I convert that 100,000 to 250,000 in April? Yes, by the time you are converting, it gets to a point you get to 1 million. And you might even lose that 1 million at some point because of the business climate. So do you plan to say, if something happens and I lose 1 million, what happens to me? Will I begin to scream, hey, I'm dead, oh. Like some businesses, fire consumed some businesses in Aleshloe market during the week. It is sad. So if you are among those who lost your wares, your shop, we send our sympathies from here. But somebody sent me a message of how his or her goods worth more than 5 million perished in that inferno. Just like that, it goes. So we must also begin to say, if you have a goods up to 5-10 million naira in your shop, Why not think of insurance? If you had insured those goods, by now you just go to your insurance company and claim your premium. Yeah. So as a business person, as you grow, you begin to say, this can happen. No, I can lose my goods. You might buy goods and you are coming from Lagos to Ibadan, and the lorry that is bringing it will run into the bush. Anything can happen. So what happens? You must begin to think ahead. That is visionary thinking. I've talked about long-term thinking. Nelson Mandela was a visionary leader. I have repeatedly talked about Lee Kuan Yew here. Lee Kuan Yew was a visionary leader. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. You know, Lee Kuan Yew had the vision of transformation in the 1960s. Singapore was a struggling, resource-poor nation. Many doubted its survival. Even Lee Kuan Yew at some point doubted the survival of Singapore. So they wanted to join Malaysia, but Malaysia rejected them. They wanted to join the Federation of Malaysia. Malaysia said, no, you can go on your own. Even Lee Kuan Yew became scared at that point. But because of his visionary thinking, he said, we can move ahead. We can move from the third world status to the first world status. So he saw beyond Singapore's small size and limited resources. He invested in education, discipline, and economic policies that turned the city-state into one of the world's most prosperous nations. Lee Kuan Yew focused on clean governance. Clean governance. Clean. You know, it is necessary. Clean governance, that is he that comes to equity, must come with clean hands. You can't be a president and you are saying we are fighting against corruption, but you are the biggest criminal in the system. It won't work. It won't work. That is why you see EFCC have become totally ineffective. Not probably because the people in EFCC don't want to fight corruption, but the protectors of the institutions are corrupt. So when you see EFCC fight corruption, it only becomes as a tool for political victimization. Or once in a while, let's have a scapegoat. Because EFCC cannot be effective under a system where you have those at the helms being the most corrupt people in the system. There is no way they will allow EFCC to work. So because of that kind of frustration, you will now see some persons in EFCC will say, okay, since we cannot even fight the corruption, let's use the EFCC as a tool to enrich ourselves. So some of his agents will now become agents of corruption. It will now filter down. It will now filter down into the ministries. Because you now sit down as a permanent secretary, you will look stupid when millions of naira are flying out from the account and you are the one even approving them. You will now look stupid when you are not part of it. You will now look stupid. So you now say at that point, okay, if we can't beat them, we join them. So once the permanent secretary joins, the person in the lower cadre we know, because you cannot steal billions alone. It must move from table to table. So as it is moving, everybody knows that Oga has stolen. No. So as Oga's money is moving, they are all pinching from the side. So Oga cannot arrest them. Oga knows that they know that he has stolen. So the only way you can fight corruption So you can't fight corruption under that kind of system. When senators, members of House of Reps, you see they are threatening local government chairmen that they don't have immunity. They will deal with them. They can't do anything. Because the money, you can't stop the local government chairman from stealing the money when governors are stealing, senators are stealing, and you now say it's only local government chairman that will not steal because you just gave them autonomy. The local government chairman will have his share. You are paying a permanent secretary how much? It's not even up to ₦1 million. That's what you pay a permanent secretary. And you expect that permanent secretary not to steal. The policeman knows that you are stealing. That is why you see the policeman is so bold on the road to say, give me that money. Have you asked why the policeman is so bold? He knows your guys are also stealing. So nobody will deal with him. Because your guy also knows that, okay, he goes say, man, they take on small, don't, small. So Lee Kuan Yew did not operate at that level. He ran what you called a clean government. And you discover we also don't need much to be happy. It's because of our greed. We have become so greedy. You think we need much. You don't need much to be happy. You don't need much to be happy. If we run a system that works, everybody can be happy. It doesn't take much. We can have good clothes for our children, good schools, good hospitals. It doesn't take much. These things are achievable. In 2025, we are complaining of poor electricity. And Tinubu will come and go. We'll continue to complain because the way the system has, something needs to give at some point. Lee Kuan Yew had a vision. He saw beyond Singapore's small size and limited resources. He invested in education, discipline, and economic policies that turned the city-state into one of the world's most prosperous nation. He focused on clean governance, technological advancement, and human capital development. His leadership proves that a nation's destiny is not determined by its size, but by the vision of its leaders. So when you say you are a giant of Africa, how far? Kwame Nkrumah had a vision of united Africa. Paul Kagame of Rwanda has a vision. Ellen Sirleaf Johnson of Liberia had a vision. I was reading her autobiography recently, and it drew me to her. I said she had a vision. She stabilized a country that came out of war, Liberia. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, this child will be great. You can see it here, this book. Anyway, I'll be back after this break. Stay tuned and stay cool.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
Aisha, kí ló dé tó kó cowbell olómi àtoníṣẹ́ṣẹ́ẹ̀tì jọ rẹpẹtẹ báyìí?
Òun ni mo fẹ́ pín lásìkò Ramadan.
Èèyàn mi, ò ṣe kúkú bẹ̀rẹ̀ pínpín ẹ̀ látòrí mi.
Ó yá gbà, Ramadan náà ṣáà ti dé. Nínú oṣù alápọ̀nlé yìí, pín dídára ìṣaralóore cowbell pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹbí àtọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀. Ó ní vitamin B9, Vitarich, ó kì pọ́pọ́, ó sì dáa. Ramadan Kareem.
Cowbell and creamy goodness.
When I get more money, me self go buy you.
See money, see money, see money, see money.
the soap making industry in Ilapo seems to be one of the critical identities of Ilapo as a place. Every homestead has its own methodology of going about the soap making in Ilapo, but it's still cottage industries. It's still at subsistence level. It's at the lowest rung of the value chain. The methodology, the know-how, the identity, the technology is still there. In my view, there is an opportunity, a great opportunity for this to rise further up the value chain, which is the thrust of the kind of intervention we're trying to make with our foundation and the National Youth Service Corps members and volunteers that are working with us on this project. The industry of our women and their economic importance to the livelihood of families, to training children and helping the community grow, for the longest time, I believe, has been underemphasized, has been understated. Our women are not indolent. They are hardworking. I mean, if you go to the length and breadth of the southwest of Nigeria and southeast as well, you find them industrious, hardworking, dedicated, breadwinners, I dare say, in the society. So the thinking that women are sitting at home, warming the bench, to be given handouts is a fallacy that has gone for too long. A research of this nature will find, let me give an example. We were valuing the naira worth of a tray that one of the women our team worked with was selling. And that old tray was going to about 50,000 naira, sold in a day. If 50 to 70,000 naira is sold in a day, multiply that by 10, okay? Suddenly that woman is no longer the poor peasant that we thought she was. But the challenge is the packaging, the branding, the identity, those other things that will add value to it to make it acceptable on a global market, on a global scale. Refining the technology, like a conversation with the KBSC would have shown that while they are using their legs to thread in the process, a machine could be done to thread from the white oil to the black oil, consolidating it to take it further up the value chain from cottage industry to, a small soap making factory. And from that further down is what needs to be done. But that the women are involved, the women are active in industry, and the women are critical to the economic success story of a place like Ilapo, as you find across the length and breadth of Africa. Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo. Interestingly, together with our Ori, which is shea butter, and we also have our variant of Gari. So when I'm not throwing shades at Ijebu Gari and Egba Gari, but we have our own Ilapo Gari as well. But the focus here is our Oshe Dudu. Yes, Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo to the world that can distinguish us and is on the journey, particularly with this opportunity you've given us, Edmond, to be documented to the world. What we're trying to do at the Beulah Day Foundation, working with Ilapo and the National Youth Service Corps members working with us on the project and the volunteers, is that by the time we had the branding, we had the funding for them to upscale, so from subsistence level to cottage industry. By the time we helped them with the identity, because Oshe Dudu is organic. Where we are talking about sustainability, we're talking about an eco age, we're talking about green gases and all whatnot. Something that's not chemical based, something that is that has health benefits to the world, properly packaged. When we can document the each bar soap and tell you what is in it, from the ori that is there to the ash that is there to the process. But with that refinement, which is what the world needs to see, and then the identity from each ojule that is producing it. So for instance, I'm from the Ilegbenogbeno, and we'll find almost every house has their own methodology and the people doing it, the women that are doing it. So if we brand it and say from Ile Balogun or Ile Mogaji or Ile original products of Ipa.
Are you in class this morning? It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. We are broadcasting from Ibadan. So in case you are watching us on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, on YouTube, yeah, you are on with the radio, man. Are you there? Have you left a message for me? Let's see. It is 1 minute past 9 from this side of time. Okay. Let me see who is in class. I'm on X at the moment. Okay, I can see. More than 300 persons are in class. On X, I can see more than 300 persons viewing. KG Akinwale, good morning to you. KG says, if our current borrowed system of government is not working, why can't we find local solution and govern ourselves the way it suits us as a people? Omoyai Beji is in class this morning. Abeza Chaso Bina says visionary leaders are products of the society. The quality of his or her mind is defined by the social structure. Thus, the intentionality of the search must begin with a redefinition of the social structure. Every Nigerian is a stakeholder in this project. Yes, to identify the flaws of the social structure is also part of that visionary thinking. So when we talk about social structures, we talk about the family, what are the values that govern the family? We talk about the traditional institutions. What are the values that govern traditional institutions? Are they in conflict with the values of democracy? You look at the church, you look at the mosque. What are the values? Then you look at your education system. Look at your syllabus. What does it teach the people? Why are you producing citizens that continue to run riot on the nation? The social structures. You look at your media. Your media is also part of the social structures. What are the qualities of the minds disseminating messages to the people? You look at the government. The government is part of the social structures. How do you produce leaders? You know, what you call the leadership structures. What define who becomes a leader in Nigeria at the moment? Even you that is complaining about leadership, if I came to you to say, see, this is where we are going, that the intention is to build aeroplanes for the future. And to do that, we are going to put a lot of investment in primary, secondary, and university education. We're going to invest a lot of billions in the study of science, that we're going to put in a lot of money in research and development. And the next man comes to you and say, hey, you're saying, for you to vote for me in the next election, I'm going to give you 100,000 naira now immediately. Who would you vote for? Who would you vote for? Would you come back and say, because I've heard people saying, now grandma we go chop. Now grandma we go chop. What do you want chop? You want beans? Ewa. And they give you agbado. They give you rice, sachet of rice. You know, the election comes and gone and you are hungry again. You must check your mind. You must check your mind. You are hungry and you keep sending me messages on WhatsApp. Edmond, come to our rescue. Come. All right, we'll come to your rescue at the right time. Are you there? Let me see your messages. You can leave your messages on X, on LinkedIn, on TikTok. Olani Paul, good morning to you. Said Edmond, please open a Mixer account. One guy said, Edmond, I can't believe you are not uploading on Spotify. I said, I'm uploading on YouTube. Go and watch it there. I don't have to be on Spotify. Don't overstretch me. Anyway, I will think about it. Bayo Olatito Job. So there is a claim that Nigeria lacks visionary leaders, but it's not so. Nigeria has had leaders with strong visions at various times in the history. The main problem is that the system that produces these leaders does not sustain visionary leaders. Okay, what's the point you are making now? If that system is not sustaining visionary leaders, I mean, they are not visionary enough to change the system. That's the point. Visionary leaders will now change the system so that it's sustainable. That's what Lin Kuan Yew did for Singapore. Since he left, have you heard complaints in Singapore? He built a system that works. That is visionary leadership. You know, remember, it's not just, you might have the vision, but when you have not implemented it, you are not a visionary. That's the point I'm making. Bayo, thank you for your message. You can also reply me. Bayo says, we have a problem with corruption, inconsistent policies, ethnic and religious division. Yes, those are problems. Visionary leaders will solve them to a good extent. Makestos Oshinowo says, Proverb 11 verse 3 says, if the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Eradicate corruption completely, and then you are on the verge of having a visionary leader. It's a visionary leader that we eradicated. It's a visionary leader that we eradicated. Somebody tagged me to a video. Please inform Sheyi Makinde to build a warehouse like this for different vocations. It will reduce youth unemployment. There are vocational warehouses everywhere. You know, I don't think Sheyi Makinde should be the one building it now. He has told you what he wants to do. Have you studied this document? Sheyi Makinde will know. Most of these things are private ventures. You can see all the machines here. You can see them there. I can see the video you are showing me. We don't need to wait for government to build this. The government can create the enabling environment. Sheyi Makinde will not build this. If you have read his Omitutu 2.1, 2.0 and Omitutu 1.0 document, he won't build this. It's not part of his vision to begin to build vocational centers for you. So study his document. He won't come and build it for you. But people can build these vocational centers. Look at most of the houses we are building now. The structures are very poor. You see a mansion with bent wall, poor windows. You're wondering, where are our engineers? You know, if you look at Baba Konde's house, Baba Konde's house was built, I think, in the 80s. But you see, the sharp walls, it's well built. If you bring in modern engineers to build this house now, they won't be able to achieve. You see the curves. The curves are so sharp, as if they didn't use block. Go and check some of the old houses. Go and see most of the buildings that Ted Fund is building in universities. Go to Obafemi Awolowo University, Ife. Look at what was built in the 60s compared to the new structures that Ted Fund built in those universities. You know that something is wrong with us. I was looking at some of the Ted Fund buildings at the Polytechnic Ibadan. I was almost weeping. And they were right, Ted Fund. Somebody got those contractors, built those rubbish. You know, universities should have... I have to confess I'm struggling with cold and cough. So bear with me. Joe? Let's look at Deng Xiaoping, the vision of economic growth in the late 1970s. China was economically backward. Deng Xiaoping saw a future where China could become a global powerhouse. He opened China to market reforms, encouraged industrialization, and laid the foundation for China's rise as an economic superpower. Deng Xiaoping was a visionary leader. Today, China is on the march to the top. But China is a superpower. You see the vision of Deng Xiaoping. I want us to listen to Chief Tola Adeniyi talk about Obafemi Awolowo.
Who was he? What was unique about him?
If it were in the days of Shango and Obatala, I mean, Awolowo should have been deified. He did more to the Yoruba than any of the gods they are talking about.
So what's stopping us from making him a god?
Because since Shango, the last of the Yoruba deities, they've not created another deity. That's all.
So what's stopping us from creating new deities?
Well, I have created him. I call him an Orisha. For me, he's a deity.
Awolowo is a deity.
Yes, he is.
What makes him a deity?
His extraordinariness, his intellect, his courage, his service, his selflessness, his vision and visionariness. The man who saw 1 million years ahead of him. The man who was feared by death. Death was afraid of Awolowo. He was that powerful. He was that great.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
You named the street after Nzo.
I did. 1976, Chukmanzego Crescent.
At the time, nobody dared to do that.
In fact, the chairman of the local government of Ibadan municipal government, Abbas, was afraid. He couldn't do it. Jembewa was scared. They had to get clearance from the Don Barracks before they could give approval to the Ibadan municipal government to name a street after Nzego.
So they eventually gave approval?
They did.
Why did they give approval?
Well, maybe because Nzego was Obasanjo's friend, or Obasanjo had a soft spot for him.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
So you think Nigeria, as presently constituted, will not work?
I've said that a million times. It will never work. We just keep on postponing the evil days. I mean, we've seen that it's not working. It can never work.
Is it not working?
Of course, it's not working. I mean, look at the people. Look at graduates selling plantain chips all over the place. Look at people, graduates carrying children on their back and holding children on their hand, still roaming, going about on Ikire Road and all that. See poverty-stricken people in Port Harcourt. See them in Nubi. See them in Nasarawa. See them in Zamfara.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
In the belly of vultures.
Yes.
Are we still in the belly of vultures?
Much more so.
Can we come out of the belly of vultures?
I don't know. I'm not optimistic at all. I'm just scared and saddened by what I see, what I hear, what I notice, and what people say. You know, it's we are so much inside. We are so much gone that I wonder if we could really get out of the belly.
Why did you title your column "Till Death Do Us Part"?
I just thought we've come to the end of the road. I mean, as far as I was concerned at that time, it's only death that could separate me from what I was writing, from my condemnation and from the agony that I was going through about Nigeria. And I wrote till there's those parts. So challenging or daring Obasanjo or daring anybody, Shagari, to come and take me and take my life.
From your writing, it is clear you are not scared of death.
Certainly not, never. But I'm scared of kidnappers.
Why are you scared of kidnappers?
Because it's saddening when 16-year-old, 17-year-old, unwashed, unkempt hooligans, keep you captive and they torture you and humiliate you. I detest humiliation.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
The Chief Tola Adeniyi interview on State Affairs. He has a lot to say. Did he say Nigeria would never work the way it is presently constituted? Yes, he said that. So it reminds me of this question from Big Pedro. He says, hello Edmund, do you think this current democracy will take us there? We need a leader that can build a system and sustain it for a while. Sometimes I feel 4 years isn't just enough. The bad guys are always lurking. Just thinking. Dictatorship is bad also. Just thinking. Big Pedro, sometimes I think like you. Let me confess. I need to say this. When Obasanjo won in 2003, did he win? Okay, let's say he won. They said he won. And he wanted a third term. I just could not come already to say that I support a third term. But I wanted Obasanjo to get a third term. I wasn't able to discuss it with my personal friends, and I gave them reasons. I said, I think we need stability. Even though I was not a fan of Obasanjo at that time, I felt we needed to stabilize the system. But at other times, I also had my doubt. What about if he now ended up becoming a dictator that will now cage all of us? That was my fear. Because I felt as a state coming out of military government, very corrupt military government, I felt Obasanjo initiated certain policies that he needed to sustain. And I think I liked his bravado at the international system, even while I was critiquing him. I was happy whenever I saw him at Davos, at the United Nations. I enjoyed his foreign policy. He was there. Nigeria was there. He had the intellectual capacity to engage. So I felt he needed another 4-year term to stabilize, perhaps redefine the constitution. Because I felt he was a strong man that could have the capacity to bully his way to redefine the constitution. A process he started. He started it, but somehow, that was how I felt at that time. I might be wrong, but I wanted him to get a third term, but I couldn't say it. I felt he could stabilize the system, then grow it a bit, then use that strong hand, to bully certain persons and redefine the system. And no president has had his capacity since then. None. That's just the truth. No Nigerian president have had Obasanjo's capacity since then. Yar'Adua was a big mistake. Jonathan struggled. Buhari was disaster. Let's wait for Tinubu's time before we make the full judgment. I don't even see Tinubu in the international system. He just goes, all we hear is a strategist, political strategist, who knows how to get power. Baba, you have power. The program is Splash. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. Stay tuned.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Splash FM 105.5.
We are Cowrywise, a wealth manager for every Nigerian. We have one job.
The soap making industry in Ilapo seems to be one of the critical identities of Ilapo as a place. Every homestead has its own methodology of going about the soap making in Ilapo, but it's still cottage industries. It's still at subsistence level. It's at the lowest rung of the value chain. The methodology, the know-how, the identity, the technology is still there. In my view, there is an opportunity, a great opportunity for this to rise further up the value chain, which is the thrust of the kind of intervention we're trying to make with our foundation and the National Youth Service Corps members and volunteers that are working with us on this project. The industry of our women and their economic importance to the livelihood of families, to training children and helping the community grow, for the longest time, I believe, has been underemphasized, has been understated. Our women are not indolent. They are hardworking. I mean, if you go to the length and breadth of the southwest of Nigeria and southeast as well, you find them industrious, hardworking, dedicated, breadwinners, I dare say, in the society. So the thinking that women are sitting at home, warming the bench, to be given handouts is a fallacy that has gone for too long. A research of this nature will find, let me give an example. We were valuing the naira worth of a tray that one of the women our team worked with was selling. And that old tray was going to about 50,000 naira, sold in a day. If 50 to 70,000 naira is sold in a day, multiply that by 10, okay? Suddenly that woman is no longer the poor peasant that we thought she was. But the challenge is the packaging, the branding, the identity, those other things that will add value to it to make it acceptable on a global market, on a global scale. Refining the technology, like a conversation with the KBSC would have shown that while they are using their legs to thread in the process, a machine could be done to thread from the white oil to the black oil, consolidating it to take it further up the value chain from cottage industry to, a small soap making factory. And from that further down is what needs to be done. But that the women are involved, the women are active in industry, and the women are critical to the economic success story of a place like Ilapo, as they are, as you find across the length and breadth of Africa. Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo. Interestingly, together with our Ori, which is shea butter, and we also have our variant of Gari. So when I'm not throwing shades at Ijebu Gari and Egba Gari, but we have our own Ilapo Gari as well. But the focus here is our Oshe Dudu. Yes, Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo to the world that can distinguish us and is on the journey, particularly with this opportunity you've given us, Edmond, to be documented to the world. What we're trying to do at the Biola Day Foundation, working with Ilapo and the National Youth Service Corps members working with us on the project and the volunteers, is that by the time we had the branding, we had the funding for them to upscale, so from subsistence level to cottage industry. By the time we helped them with the identity, because Oshe Dudu is organic. Where we are talking about sustainability, we're talking about an eco-age, we're talking about green gases and all whatnot. Something that's not chemical based, something that is that has health benefits to the world, properly packaged, when we can document the each bar soap and tell you what is in it, from the ori that is there to the ash that is there to the process, but with that refinement, which is what the world needs to see, and then the identity from each ojule that is producing it. So for instance, I'm from the Ilegbenogbeno, and we'll find almost every house has their own methodology and the people doing it, the women that are doing it. So if we brand it and say from Ile Balogun or Ile Mogaji or Ile original products of Ilapo, Oshedudu of Ilegbeno certified, the same way you certify organic products, and we package it and put it together and we put it in the global scene, then we not only elevate our people from just subsistence making of Oshedudu black soap, we also elevate them, give them visibility to the world in terms of their craft that has been there for ages and ages, and the technical knowledge is still resident in the family. And then we can then lift our people also from poverty to greater economic value. And the world is waiting for this. The world is waiting for Ilapo. The world is waiting for our Oshedudu. And that's what we're partnering with the world and yourselves and the good people working with us to present to the world. Yes, Oshedudu is our identity. We're proud of it. We own it. And we're trying to take it to the world. The work we're doing currently is to document the footprint of Oshedudu, starting from the origins to the active part of our citizens, our women that are involved, to valuing their wares, their inputs, their output, their sales. That's a process we're working on. We're happy to share it at the end of the process. We're working a process, and we think we will be able to get that data. The reason I'm able to say that was 70,000 was because we then said, Mama, Oshekekere, this small soap, how much would you sell it? And it's 2,000. Really? And this one, how much is it? It's 5,000. Really? So you're actually carrying wares that is valuable. You look at it and you can easily, despise it. But that is real money right there, sold every day. What they would then need to do is to find out, okay, how about financial inclusion, which is also something we do, to then open an account so you can then trace how much you've paid into it. Instead of using it to feed your children and all whatnot only, then can you save? Can we give you counterpart funding to buy the equipment you require? Adding value to them while they are on their journey to economic, to better, because they're on the economic journey, they're on the rungs, it's just that they're on the lowest rungs. Just help them to grow a little better, and we'll capture the data in our process, and then that's the data we can share. At this point in time, today, we still don't have that data. The challenges we have with the methodology and the technology is something that we will get to when we are done with the documentation. So for instance, the wood, the ashes come from the wood. And a problem we have in Ilapo is also the fact that our trees, our economic trees are being chopped and carried away. But if this is properly studied and given, then the local technology and the conservation efforts can then be looked at vis-a-vis what is currently being done, and then we can make a decision in that regard, helping them. Again, for the people, you can't force on them what they consider is their ancestral heritage, what their babanla have been doing. But when you show them the value and walk the journey with them, you can push them, you can encourage them further up the value chain. And then, of course, the technological improvement. In an age where power is being generated with water in a bowl rolling, we need to move in that direction. We just need to follow that trend as well. And of course, the raw materials for this Oshedudu is one of such as well. Water, in fact, is an issue. When you look at Ilapo and the topography, the terrain, on one part of it, so for instance, Ile Mogaji, where I'm sitting here, is my maternal grandmother's family house. And it's called Oke Igbagbo. Oke means hill or mountain. So you can see the rock formation right behind us. And we've done some infrastructural projects, including water supply, trying to get people water. And I mean, at 120
we have delivered support to our smallholder farmers and micro and small enterprise investors. As at October 2024, 2,085 entrepreneurs received part of the 500 million naira low-interest loans we provided to enable them boost their businesses. At the same time, over 10,000 smallholder crop and livestock farmers were given farm inputs, while 1 billion naira was disbursed to 3,525 farmers as low-interest loans under SAFER. We also provided a tractorization subsidy to support smallholder farmers across the state. Furthermore, 3,660 smallholder crop and livestock farmers have so far benefited from the fourth phase of inputs distribution and training under the Oyo State NG Cares program this year. One question we are always asked is, what impact our investment in agriculture and trade have yielded as the people are still hungry and the cost of major produce are still high? Yes, we've invested so much, but price of Gari in the market has not gone down. So the question is, why?
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
We'll continue to take actions that will move our people from poverty to prosperity. Through personal experience, I know that one of the core areas that can change the destiny of our people is access to quality education. This year, we missed an opportunity to use the long holiday when our students were on long holiday to embark on repair of at least 100 dilapidated secondary schools. Well, it's a missed opportunity. We will still fix those schools in the coming months. Meanwhile, 105 primary schools in rural communities are being renovated under the World Bank assisted Better Education Service Delivery for All BESDA program, and they are at 95% completion. We plan to do more in the coming year. Also, we have embarked on massive recruitment of teachers. A total of 14,500 primary and secondary school teachers are waiting for letters of employment. This is the first time in the history of Oyo State that such a number of teachers are being recruited at the same time. In fact, we broke our own record of 5,000 secondary school teachers recruited in one go under Omituntun 1.0. The new teachers will be part of the beneficiaries of the 80,000 naira minimum wage, which we're proposing for civil servants in Oyo State, as we transition from the wage award of 25,000 for civil servants and 10,000 naira for pensioners.
That was Governor Sheyi Makinde in 2014, highlighting his vision for the agricultural and education sector in Oyo State. The recruitment of teachers is revolutionary. That is visionary on education. And he can achieve it we need to make huge investment in the education of our children. And the governor can achieve it. He has highlighted them. That is one. Then achieving them. So soon, I'll go and see how far he has gone with the schools he promised to build. We need to create the kind of infrastructure needed for the mental emancipation of our people. Let's walk down history lane. Let me take you into the past. I have talked about visionary leadership, but let's reflect on the past. Remember, state affairs is about history, politics, and power. Ife Modakeke is a story of blood, it is a story of land, and it's a story of destiny. The Ife Modakeke story is a story of how brothers turned rivals. It's a tale of home and of exile, a tale of land and belonging. This is a reflection on the past. It is a story that echoes across time, across continents, wherever people have drawn lines between us and them. The essence of this story is to remind us that we must continue to learn from history. The Ife Modakeke crisis was one of Nigeria's oldest inter-ethnic conflicts, a conflict between communities of the same ethnic stock. It is a wound that has reopened time and again. From the first battles of the 19th century to the violent clashes of the 1990s, it's a crisis that tested the limits of community, justice, and reconciliation. But this is not just about Ife Modakeke. It is about the world. It's a story as old as time. There is this saying that no matter how long the night, the dawn will come. But if you looked at Ife Modakeke over 250 years, you could say at some point that some nights refused to end. For over 250 years, the people of Ife and Modakeke lived as neighbors, and they still live as neighbors. But they worked the part of rivals. Why? I'm talking about brothers in lineage, yet divided by history. Sons and daughters of the same ancestors, yet locked in a circle of war and uneasy peace. Have we learned lessons? The Ife Modakeke crisis reminds me of battles. The soil is soaked with the blood of generations past. Remember the fall of the old Oyo Empire in the 19th century? So the fall of Oyo Empire forced its people south. Among them were the Modakeke warriors, traders, and survivors. So they found refuge in Ife after the fall of Oyo in the 19th century. But history has taught us that refugees do not remain refugees forever. Immigrants don't remain immigrants forever. So Modakekes grew in number. They built homes, they farmed the land, and then came the question, who owns what? First, there were the wars of 1849, long ago. 1849, before my father was born. I mean, before my grandfather was born. Then the communal violence of 1882. Did you remember the land rent dispute of the 1940s between the Ifes and the Modakekes? This story is to continue to remind us that the lessons of history must be learned at all times. Those who don't learn from history repeat them. There was also the Ife Modakeke fight over British parliamentarians' visit in 1949. The confrontation over the reception of a British parliamentarian, I'm talking about Reverend Sorensen, is one that made brothers and sisters raise their hands to spill blood. I don't know if you remember the conflict over the establishment of Modakeke High School. Why do such things lead to bloodshed? There was also the conflict over the establishment of the Olorun Shogo Plank Market. I have read about the opposition to self-help development project by fundraising activity of Modakeke in 1980. The battle for a separate local government that sparked bloodshed in the 1980s and 1990s are fresh in our mind. The story of Ife and Modakeke is not a single battle. No. It is a circle. A wound that heals just enough to be reopened by the next generation. Are you in class? But is this only an Ife Modakeke story? No. Or is it the story of humanity? Yes. So let's look beyond Nigeria. I remember in Belfast, in Northern Ireland, Catholics and Protestants fought for generations over identity, power, and land, just as Ife and Modakeke have. The fight in Ireland was bloody. they were Christians. They killed themselves because they were Catholics and Protestants. Remember Umuleri and Aguleri in Anambra State? Bloody. Umuleri, Aguleri. They shed borders. They were Igbos. They are Igbos. In Rwanda. The Hutus and Tutsis lived as neighbors for centuries, but political tension turned them into enemies. What followed was genocide. In Palestine and Israel, the fight is not just over land, but over history, over the right to exist. From Bosnia to Sudan, history repeats itself. Those who arrive seeking refuge soon find themselves accused of overstaying their welcome. The line between guest and rival fades. Everywhere, the struggle is the same. Who was here first? Who deserves to rule? Who should yield? History tells us one thing. When people fail to resolve their past, the past comes back to destroy their future. I want you to take note of that in this class. When people fail to resolve their past, the past comes back to destroy their future. And this message is also for President Tinubu and the governors. It's a question for the Nigerian state. When people fail to resolve their past, the past comes back to destroy their future. Who will say I did not speak when I saw the wind? And so, Ife and Modakeke became trapped in a circle of violence, one generation after another. The battlefield of the 19th century was different from that of the 1990s, but the cause remained the same: power. It's about land, power, and the triggers of war. The 1997 crisis between Ife and Modakeke started with a simple demand. Modakeke wanted a local government of their own. It was granted, but with a twist. The headquarters was placed in an area dominated by Ife indigents. A decision, a protest, a war. Houses burned, lives lost, another chapter of bloodshed added to history. This is how wars start. Not with a number, not with the thunder of guns, but with decisions made in quiet rooms, decisions about identity, control, and dignity. Today, the drums of war are silent. But silence is not the same as peace. But it seems what is going on now between Ife and Modakeke is not the peace of the graveyard. When Bisi Akonde emerged as the governor of Osun State in 1999, he inherited the Ife Modakeke crisis. So, I meet with Bisi Akonde, and he takes me through the politics of the First Republic into the Ife Modakeke crisis. Listen.
So why did Bola Ige appoint Busari Adelakun into that cabinet? Because you kept saying the most feared Ibadan politician. You repeated it in the course of your storytelling.
Yes.
And Bola Ige brought in that politician into his cabinet.
Before we got to cabinet, I didn't know Busari Adelakun. But Bola Ige and Busari Adelakun must have been friends. He was Busari Adelakun's lawyer at some points. So they must have known each other well before I knew them. And I knew Chief Awolowo was not in favor of Adelakun becoming a commissioner. And I knew of a fact that Awolowo advised Bola Ige to make Adelakun something like chairman, pilgrim board, or something like that, carrying people to Mecca. But Bola Ige felt, yes, he could be able to be in cabinet. I can't question his judgment. He has made him, a member of cabinet. But he became the most undoing of Bola Ige in cabinet.
How? How did he become the undoing, or the most undoing?
He's rigid. He's not educated. And he wants to be, whatever anybody could be, no matter what your education.
He was that ambitious?
He must be ambitious.
And was desperate?
He was desperate. He was everything put together. I told you he wanted to be deputy to anybody.
To even Afolabi?
To Afolabi, to Mishade, to Bola Ige, to everybody. Anybody that can say, you will be my running mate, he was ready to support.
At what point did the government begin to unravel?
Bola must have known before me, but what I did know was that there was going to be creation of local governments. And there have been lots of arguments about where should be local government. And we say, okay, look, a principle must be adopted. A local government must not split a House of Assembly constituency. That you can put 2 constituencies within one local government. You can put 4 within one local government. But you can't split, a House of Assembly constituency between 2 local governments. When that became the matter, we say, Adelakun, go and apply it. So he brought a recommendation.
He was the commissioner of local government.
He was the commissioner for local government. And he brought a recommendation which we all approved. And local government was created. But a problem started in Ife Modaeke. Ife Modaeke was a 3-ward within the Onamiyan local government. And before we came, I think the military must have created something. And there had been some, mismatch. But the INEC created, they call it FEDECO then, created constituencies. And Modaeke was not a constituency of its own. Therefore, Modaeke could not have a local government of its own. Because of the principle. The principle is that a constituency should not be split between 2 local governments. That was the principle. But Modaeke wasn't a constituency of its own. It was part of a constituency. So it had to be a local government within that. So we made Modaeke part of several other constituencies, maybe 2 or 3 constituencies that makes up Ife Central or Ife something local.
And Modaeke did not like that?
Well, the underlying factor was historical and grave. Even if we considered it, we won't be able to have a principle to resolve it as at that time.
And that issue also reared its head again when you became governor of Osun State.
Not that it reared again. It was never resolved then. It was never resolved for 20 years before I came back as a governor. So what I did, was to create an area council for Modaeke. By making it 1/3 of Ife East, and say the allocation coming from Abuja for Ife East should be split into 3, 30% should be given to Modaeke Area Council.
Did it solve the problem?
Well, since then, no problem. Since then, that was the end of it.
But how did the violence at that time, how did it make you feel as governor of Osun State?
It was disturbing me a lot. I had to run to Obasanjo and beg him to come and intervene, to come and help me resolve it. The reason was that they are laughing for you. They are Ujale of Ijabode. Adishekola Lao of Ibadan. They were all behind Modakeke. And they were outside my own state. So I needed somebody who can help me to talk to them.
Why were they behind Modakeke?
I don't know. Because Modakeke is an Oyo town. So Alafin believed and he wrote down.
Interesting.
Modakeke felt it's not Ife. Alafin felt Modakeke is Oyo. And Alafin felt that Ife was persecuting Oyo within its territory. And Alafin, you know how to employ the support of Awujale, of Farisekola and so on, to bail out Modakeke out of the problem. And it became, a terrible problem. Terrible.
It almost marred your administration.
No, nobody can pass through my state. Some people were killed on their journey through the state. Some strangers passing through the state. So everybody was avoiding my state. It couldn't allow us to govern. It couldn't allow business. It couldn't allow, It was a terrible situation.
But does that speak of the kind of politics we play? Because it reared its head during Bola Ige's era.
Yeah, it started well before Bola Ige was born. The problem had been since about 1870, 1880.
And we could not solve it for many years.
It was not resolved until Bola Ige came. But what brought it out during Bola Ige was the creation of local government. And the military couldn't resolve it for 20 years before Bola Ige's time and my time.
But you resolved it?
Oh, yes. God help me to resolve it.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Speaking there with a former governor of Osun State, Chief B.C. Akonde. The scars of the past still shape the present. Ife still holds its position as the cradle of the Yoruba race, with the Oni as the spiritual father of all Yoruba people, including the Modakekes. Modakeke still stands proud as a town of warriors and builders, determined to carve its own destiny and that of all. Can a people truly share a land without war? The world has seen it play out in different ways. The Tutsis and Hutus of Rwanda, once neighbors, turned against each other in 1994, leading to a genocide. The Israelis and the Palestinians have fought for decades over land. The Yugoslav wars shattered a nation along ethnic and religious lines. Yet, there are also stories of healing. In post-apartheid South Africa, truth and reconciliation took the place of revenge. In Northern Ireland, peace agreements replaced centuries of sectarian violence. As events look, Ife and Modakeke have chosen peace. Since the year 2000, peace has returned, though the scars remain. The tension simmers beneath the surface. Minor disputes arise, but traditional rulers intervene before they explode. Conflict is part of human community. There is something deeper than politics at play here. It is the wisdom of history. The quiet lessons that whisper in the ears of those willing to listen. Conflict cannot last forever. At some point, the land must be shared or it will be lost to war. Are you in class? I want you to take note of this part. At some point, the land must be shared, or it will be lost to war. Have you taken note of that? At some point, the land must be shared, or it will be lost to war. Intermarriages now link Ife and Modakeke in ways that guns never could. A new generation is growing up with less hatred in their hearts. This is the real hope, the realization that blood spilled cannot be undone, but a different future can be built. So, we return to the question, who owns the land? Perhaps the land owns us, but we don't know. Take note. The land owns us all. The land outlives us. The land watches as we fight, as we kill, as we burn. And when we are gone, it consumes us. It remains waiting for the next generation to decide whether to repeat history or to rewrite it. The land does not belong to the dead. It belongs to the living. And the living must choose. There is always the road to peace. The choice is always ours. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. But soon, let's take some calls. Remember, hit the nail on the head. Call the radio station on 070 694 93000. That is 070 694 93000. You can also call the radio station on 070 144 757 70. 070 144 75770. Good morning. Hello. Okay, let's hear from you. You can also leave your message for me.
Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Mr. Obido, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
Can we set apart March 6 or 7, the day of Shivoba Femenawa's birthday, as a day for collection where we brainstorm and ways forward, development to how to move the country forward? This set of politics, nothing has happened. Go to Lafayette Hotel, go to Premier Hotel, they are all a decay. I predict it, yeah. Oranges and mango are rotting away. Nobody is thinking of putting a factory there. Pepsi was in front of government collective before. They couldn't manage it. The Lebanese also are managing it now 7-Up, and it's still functioning. So let's honor this man with the public holiday, where everybody in the south where we come and brainstorm. All the legacy are still there. Housing Estate, Cocoa House, Liberty Stadium, WNTV, Wema Board in Lagos, Ikeja. Yes, what has this new set of politicians done? Absolutely nothing. From the military regime. Because I believe the greatest disaster that happened to this country was the military regime. If they have not come in, this country would have been better. We were in we were calling developing country then, along with China, along with Malaysia and some other countries. Today, they are far ahead of us. All we are doing is corruption, and they want to eat for the next 100 generations. There is no agenda. We still remember how you came for manifesto, free health, free education, integral development, and the last one. Today, what is the PDP development program under Abajo? Nothing. Under Iradua, 7.5 program. Under Good Dogs, no business program. What is APC under Buhari? What is it under Tinubu? Nothing. They are just deceiving us and sending lies to grab power for themselves and themselves only. We can't continue like this. We can't continue like this. This will come to crisis. Okay, good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The lines are open. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where you are calling from?
My name is Adeniyi.
You're Mr. Lumiwa calling from Agbo. The ball is in your court.
Yeah, thank you very much. When you're talking marrying figure, it is not sincerity. It's kind of forgotten.
This line is not clear. Line is not clear at all. Sorry about that, Mr. Lumuyiwa. Your line is poor. Must be network issues. Okay, I'll take 2 more calls before we move on to the Tola Adeniyi interviews. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
How are you there?
I did fine.
Okay, this is Mr. Ken.
Mr. Ken.
If you really want to change the system as the man, the last speaker has spoken, if you really want to do that, let the people of Southwest change their mindset towards politics. Tribalism, let it free from there. Asking for, external, apart from the South here, when they see their brothers in South, they say, no, South, you cannot rule. I want to bring them from the North. We are Nigerians, but let them change their mindset towards tribalism, and it will be better for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. The lines are open. Hitting it on the head. Good morning. Hello,
good morning.
Yes, good morning.
So this is Daniel Banker calling from Lagos.
The ball is in your court.
Thank you for the explicit explanation of history and then putting our mind back to the beginning of time, as well as putting everybody abreast of happenings. Like I used to put, I have the saying that whoever wants peace, just like the Bible put it, said, follow peace with all men. And then at the end of the day, peace will also sleep with you. The two community itself have, I will conclusively say, have always made huge losses from every crisis that has ever ensued. For every crisis that has ever ensued between Ife and Modekeke, it has always been both community taking huge chunk of the losses. The former governor was saying something that people were not passing through, that the town were just in isolation. Concurrently, that is what is going on, and that is still affecting the town till date, even to this present time. My advice will be, just like you said, the land is for the humans, not for the dead. It is we who are living presently. We should learn to live with ourselves, settle our differences amicably. And how do we settle our differences amicably? There is this part of assimilation, as we are taught in government. There is this part of assimilation, and then there is this part of freedom. Once you know, history has told you, you came over and you are given place to assimilate. You come in and you assimilate. As time goes on, there will always be rules. And as time goes on, there will always be this generation who lets go. And then you will always be part of those who you've come to visit. Just as Africans go out to the West and then you become citizens, it is always how humans have lived their lives from generation to generation. Time will come, you will become part of who you said you want to be. You cannot have two identity in a particular place. It is not possible.
All right.
So that is just the simple solution.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Rodo.
Thank you. Okay, Bosun. Bosun is here. Bosun is the studio manager. So when you hear me say Bosun, I'm looking at Bosun. Bosun is looking at me. I see Bosun. Hello? Bosun sees me. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
This line. No, I'm not going to take that call. Okay? Yeah, let's focus on this particular line. So we'll take one more call. Remember the Tola Adeniyi interview is next. The Chief Tola Adeniyi interview was taken. Hello, good morning. Can you turn down the volume of your radio set?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
May God bless you.
And bless you too.
For the past 3 years, I've been trying to connect you. No way, this morning is a success.
Oh, good.
I have been your student for years now, and you have continued to open our eyes. I don't want to pray for you that your life will not be in vain. Don't give up. Nigeria will soon be okay in our time. The success of this country is to share the country and everybody goes their way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And God bless you.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Chief Adeniyi has lived through the golden age of journalism and the perilous moment that make journalists targets of the state. Adeniyi's fearless, sarcastic writings often unsettled those in power, drawing the eye of military authorities. In 1974, Tola Adeniyi's controversial article, Soldiers, Stones and Sanity, led to his imprisonment in a guard room. With his life under threat, he was eventually forced into exile, embodying the resilience and courage of journalists committed to truth. A towering figure in African journalism, Chief Adeniyi served as chairman and managing director of Daily Times of Nigeria. Daily Times at the time was the continent's largest newspaper. Tola Adeniyi began his career at the paper in 1973, and by 1974, he made history as Africa's first ever newspaper ombudsman. His leadership and editorial integrity set a precedent for accountability in the press. Beyond Daily Times, Tola Adeniyi also acted as editor-in-chief of the Nigerian Tribune and contributed to major international newspapers, including the Atlanta Inquirer, the Lancashire Evening Post in the United Kingdom, and the Toronto Star in Canada. His work earned him a reputation as a global journalist with a sharp analytical mind and an unyielding commitment to press freedom. Chief Adeniyi's intellectual journey began at the University of Ibadan, where he studied English with drama as a subsidiary. In 1967, he founded the University of Ibadan Writers Club, a platform that nurtured literary talent and critical thinking. He later advanced his education with a master's degree from Lancaster University, Britain, further enriching his depth as a journalist and thinker. With decades of experience, Chief Tola Adeniyi remains an influential voice in journalism, a defender of free speech and a witness to history's unfolding pages. The Chief Tola Adeniyi interview on Splash 105.5 FM. That will be after this break. But before then, look at this book entitled Abba Sahid. It is a literary portrait of Tola Adeniyi. Have you read the book? It's a book I'm recommending to you. You will find this book on udarabooks.com. Abba Sahid, a literary portrait of Tola Adeniyi, edited by Eddie Ayo Ojo. Abba Sahid. Get your copy, order your copy on udarabooks.com. The biggest book in our store, the heaviest book in our store, is this book entitled In the Belly of Vultures. You cannot hold this book with one hand. Let me see. I'm struggling. It's going to sleep. It is the biggest book on udarabooks.com. It is a book about the thinking, the writing, the philosophy of Chief Tola Adeniyi. You see, by documenting his works in this collection, he has left a mark in the sands of time. He has established himself as a cultural, political philosopher, as a human philosopher. This collection of works compiled here, the book is more than 1,100 pages. You can order your copy on udarabooks.com or through my WhatsApp number 08039 18449. 08039 18449. The Chief Tola Adeniyi interview on Splash after this time. Stay tuned and stay cool.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
the soap making industry in Ilapo seems to be one of the critical identities of Ilapo as a place. Every homestead has its own methodology of going about the soap making in Ilapo, but it's still cottage industries. It's still at subsistence level. It's at the lowest rung of the value chain. The methodology, the know-how, the identity, the technology is still there. In my view, there is an opportunity, a great opportunity for this to rise further up the value chain, which is the thrust of the kind of intervention we're trying to make with our foundation and the National Youth Service Corps members and volunteers that are working with us on this project. The industry of our women and their economic importance to the livelihood of families, to training children and helping the community grow, for the longest time, I believe, has been underemphasized, has been understated. Our women are not indolent. They are hardworking. I mean, if you go to the length and breadth of the southwest of Nigeria and southeast as well, you find them industrious, hardworking, dedicated, breadwinners, I dare say, in the society. So the thinking that women are sitting at home, warming the bench, to be given handouts is a fallacy that has gone for too long. A research of this nature will find, let me give an example. We were valuing the naira worth of a tray that one of the women our team worked with was selling. And that old tray was going to about 50,000 naira, sold in a day. If 50 to 70,000 naira is sold in a day, multiply that by 10, okay? Suddenly that woman is no longer the poor peasant that we thought she was. But the challenge is the packaging, the branding, the identity, those other things that will add value to it to make it acceptable on a global market, on a global scale. Refining the technology, like a conversation with the KBSC would have shown that while they are using their legs to thread in the process, a machine could be done to thread from the white oil to the black oil, consolidating it to take it further up the value chain from cottage industry to, a small soap making factory. And from that further down is what needs to be done. But that the women are involved, the women are active in industry, and the women are critical to the economic success story of a place like Ilapo, as you find across the length and breadth of Africa. Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo. Interestingly, together with our Ori, which is shea butter, and we also have our variant of Gari. So when I'm not throwing shades at Ijebu Gari and Egba Gari, but we have our own Ilapo Gari as well. But the focus here is our Oshe Dudu. Yes, Oshe Dudu is the identity of Ilapo to the world that can distinguish us and is on the journey, particularly with this opportunity you've given us, Edmond, to be documented to the world. What we're trying to do at the Beulah Day Foundation, working with Ilapo and the National Youth Service Corps members working with us on the project and the volunteers, is that by the time we had the branding, we had the funding for them to upscale, so from subsistence level to cottage industry. By the time we helped them with the identity, because Oshe Dudu is organic. Where we are talking about sustainability, we're talking about an eco-age, we're talking about green gases and all whatnot. Something that's not chemical-based, something that is that has health benefits to the world, properly packaged. When we can document the each bar soap and tell you what is in it, from the ori that is there to the ash that is there to the process, but with that refinement, which is what the world needs to see, and then the identity from each ojule that is producing it. So for instance, I'm from the Ilegbenogbeno, and we'll find almost every house has their own methodology and the people doing it, the women that are doing it. So if we brand it and say from Ile Balogun or Ile Mogaji or Ile original product of Ipapo or Shedudu of Ile certified, the same way you certify organic products, and we package it and put it together and we put it in the global.
Join me as I read from this interesting collection of articles about humanity, articles about the state, articles about life, articles about the future, written by a great mind, a mind beyond journalism, a philosopher. In writing, he digs deep and he hits hard. In writing, he says the future and hits the mark. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. Let's read together. Look at this book. It's his book. It's a big book. In the Belly of Vultures. The author of the book writes, he says, this book, Nigeria, A Nation in the Belly of Vultures, has many titles. It was originally conceived as Nigeria, a nation of idiots. Is understandably so. It was the fiery pastor, the incorruptible ultra-nationalist, Barrister Tunde Bakari, who once lamented that it takes only fools to be ruled by idiots, or idiots to be ruled by fools. I'm reading from the prologue of the book. So the author says in one of the articles in this collection, I opined that all Nigerians must have been compound idiots for them to allow, tolerate, and grudgingly accept the barefaced robbery which the ruling elite had inflicted on the country's patrimony. The author continues, no collection of human beings anywhere in history and in the world had allowed the reckless brigandage that had consumed the Nigerian nation for the past 55 years without raising a finger in protest. The author of this book, I will call it the biggest book in our collection. The author of this book is Chief Tola Adeniyi, a renowned journalist, former chairman of the Daily Times, chairman and editor-in-chief of the Daily Times. The Daily Times at the time was the biggest newspaper in Africa. Nigeria's first ombudsman. Chief Tola Adeniyi, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm always delighted to be with you and to rub minds with you.
Thank you for coming. A nation of idiots.
Yes.
You really meant it?
I meant it. I mean, that was the title I chose for it. Except it was my friend, late Professor George Obiozo, who said, no, that's too hard, it's too harsh. Why not tune it down, choose a different title. You know that Nigeria is in the belly of vultures, but to say that the vultures, the people in the belly of vultures are also idiots is too much for them. They've already been eaten up by the vultures. Why do you want to add more to the agony by calling them idiots? So just let them remain in the belly of the vultures and don't add any insult to their injury. Don't call them idiots. So that's why the title was, even when it was going to the press, it was a nation of idiots. It was Obiozo who changed the title.
And you agreed with his argument?
Yes, I did. Because it was not the Nigerians that really offended me. Well, nobody offended me, but I was really frustrated by the seeming helplessness of Nigerians that have been able to tolerate all the nonsense they've been going through over the years. And it still aches me now that
The vultures have become more powerful.
More powerful. I mean, the vultures have made the mincemeat of them, just tearing them apart into pieces and chopping their heads off.
Who are the vultures?
The vultures are the political class. The political class, whether in uniform or in Agbada or in Babariga or in whatever dress they wore. It's the political class. They're anti-people, wicked, unfeeling, selfish, greedy.
NSAS was a resistance
NSAS,
of the elite.
Yes, it wasn't of the elite, it was the young people. It was the resistance by the young people.
And I'm saying resisting the political elite.
Yes, they were. It was well organized.
So they are not idiots.
No, the youth of this country are not idiots.
And you made a point in this book, your literary autobiography.
Yes.
That is young people that have the power to change the country.
They are. I still believe they are the people who could change the country. I mean, when Zegu made an attempt, he was under 30 years of age. You know, if you know, all of them, they were under 30 years of age. It's the young people who have the muscle to change any society. Jesus was under 30. Except Prophet Muhammad, who was in his late 50s, was in his 50s when he started his own religious revolution. All the other leaders I know were under 40 years of age.
In the belly of vultures?
Yes.
Are we still in the belly of vultures?
Much more so.
Can we come out of the belly of vultures?
I don't know. I'm not optimistic at all. I'm just scared and saddened by what I see, what I hear, what I notice, and what people say. You know, it's we are so much inside. We are so much gone that I wonder if we could really get out of the belly. You know, and if we do get out, if the youth can do something, those of us who are in advanced in age, we're already gone. I mean, what am I going to benefit if the country changes? I mean, over 80 years of age. And people in my generation and those who are very close to my generation have lost. They've lost the war, they've lost the battle. So they should just, count their days and wait for the time they're going to end up in the grave.
At what point did the rain begin to beat us?
I would say from the time strange bedfellows were put together, when that man, history says is a eunuch, brought Nigerian people from the north and people from the south together.
You're talking about Lord Lugard?
Yeah, they say it's a eunuch. Yeah, Lord Lugard. I don't call him Lord Lugard. I just call him a criminal fellow.
Why criminal?
Well, what did he do in India? What did he do in the Sudan? It's just a career criminal. It was more or less a dignified pirate. You know.
He amalgamated the north and the south and protectorate.
Yes.
And
that was the beginning. And in fairness to him, he said for 100 years. I mean, the British at that time, 100 years. If it was 100 years, that should have lapsed in 2014. But here we are, 2025. Because the greedy politicians will not do what they needed to do.
What should they do?
They should have. The amalgamation was off by 2014, according to the books.
So, but we decided to keep it.
Yeah.
We have a right to keep it.
The question is not right. It's not whether we have a right or not right. And why should you keep something that was not legally binding? Why should you keep something that was not democratically processed?
Chief Adeniyi, don't forget we have gone through different constitutional processes to refine that amalgamation. So we have the 1999 Constitution that keeps the country together.
Lord of mercy. Who are the people in the Constitution? Who are the people doing the Constitution? Is it not the same people in the belly of the vultures? Who are the people doing the Constitution?
So you think Nigeria, as presently constituted, will not work?
I've said that a million times. It will never work. We just keep on postponing the evil days. I mean, we've seen that it's not working. It can never work.
Is it not working?
Of course, it's not working. I mean, look at the people. Look at graduates selling plantain chips all over the place. Look at people, graduates carrying children on their back and holding children on their hand, still roaming, going about on Ikire Road and all that and all that. See poverty-stricken people in Port Harcourt. See them in Nubi. See them in Nasarawa. See them in Zamfara.
But you still find them in poor countries like Niger, Chad. These are countries that you can say are monocultural.
But they're not working. No. No, it's not. The fact that it's so is not because Nigeria is not working. It's not because it's not monocultural. It's more than that. We're just unfortunate that when the colonial masters left, the people who took over. Excuse those who ran for just 5 years. Those who followed them after 5 years, they continue to mess up the country and they behaved worse than the British colonial masters.
Why are you exempting the first 5 years?
I think because at that time it was a confederation. The West was the Igbos were running their country, the Yoruba were running their country, the Hausa under Ahmadu Bello, they were running their country, and they
were running their regions.
Yes, that's what I mean. That's a country. I mean, this is a Yoruba country.
Okay.
So they were running, and the federal government was not breathing down on anybody. In fact, they were in charge.
But at some point, the federal government began to breathe down on the western region.
Yeah, that was the beginning of the problem. After that, it was the attempt by the NPC to whittle down the powers of Awolowo and all that. Then they conspired, created the Midwest and all that, and then wanted to send soldiers to run down the south because of Western Nigeria, because the people didn't support Akintola or didn't believe Akintola won the election. And then, the soldiers took advantage of that and felt they should end it all. And that was why they struck.
The soldiers like Nzogo.
Nzogo, my hero forever.
Your hero forever?
Yeah.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
You named the street after Nzogo.
I did. 1976, Chukma Nzogo Crescent.
At the time, nobody dared to do that.
In fact, the chairman of the local government of Ibadan municipal government, Abbas, was afraid. He couldn't do it. Jembeon was scared. They had to get clearance from the Don Barracks before they could give approval to the Ibadan municipal government to name a street after Nzogo.
So they eventually gave approval?
They did.
Why did they give approval?
Well, maybe because Nzogo was Obasanjo's friend, or Obasanjo had a soft spot for him. But even without the approval at that time, I'd already put signposts there, Nzogo Crescent.
So what excites you about him? Some people called him a cold-blooded murderer.
Well, I don't call him a cold-blooded murderer. I called him a revolutionary. And revolutionaries have their own way of doing things. If he felt that those who he rightly accused of running down the country should be killed, so be it. And as I said in one of my columns in 1978, 79, that if I was one of those, the 3,000 people that I said are running down the country, but one of them, they should tie me to the stake and shoot me. And I still stand by that. I did stand by that.
You visited Nzogu's mother at some point?
Yes, I went to Panam to see his mother after the war.
Why?
Because I wanted to see the woman who gave birth to such a great man.
Did you see her?
I did. Of course I saw her.
What did you tell her?
I told her that that our son fought a gallant fight and that he had a mission to rescue Nigeria and rescue Nigerians. If he had succeeded, we probably wouldn't be where we are today.
Can you remember her look while you were talking?
I mean, they've just gone out of war. I mean, the war just ended, and she suffered also during the war, running herself, with the children and all that. The war devastated the eastern region. Because I could see that her eyes were teary, I could see that she lost a son,
What about his father?
I call him Jesus of 1966. No, I didn't talk about his father. I went physically to see the mother. I didn't ask for anybody.
How were you able to find her?
I mean, I'm a journalist. I'm a reporter. I just asked. I knew she was in Okadam, and I went there.
You called him Jesus of 1966.
Yes, in my collection Soul Fire, which was published in 1974. Jesus of 1966.
The Nzogu coup led to a counter coup.
Yes.
And the counter coup was more bloody.
Yes.
Than the January coup.
Of course.
That counter coup brought Gowon.
Yes.
As head of state.
Yes.
And you wrote a lot against Gowon.
I did.
So what was it that angered you about him?
At that point in time, I thought and believed that he was immature and that he was not running the country well. And things were going out of hand and he didn't check. I mean, all the governors were there. He couldn't change them. He couldn't do any shuffle of his cabinet. And there were allegations of corruption and so on, And I felt it was weak. But from hindsight now, it is the same me who wrote some 10 years ago that Gowon was the father of modern Nigeria.
So what changed your mind?
In comparison, what followed? I began to recognize that it was the one who did the Lagos-Ibadan Express. It was the one who built the airport. It was the one who built the cultural center. It was the one who did so many things. And I mean, in comparison, it wasn't as bad as we thought, as the media painted him to be.
So how do you describe the media for doing that?
They were just responding to the issue at the moment, responding to what was on ground at that time. I mean, nobody knew that Nigeria was going to be progressively worse. We thought it was going to get better.
Did you say progressively worse?
Yeah, because it has become worse since then. I mean, right from the time Gowon was overthrown, it started nosediving.
And you predicted his fall.
Oh, yes, I did.
Remember the article?
Oh, yes. I wrote Let Me Fall. I wrote May We Never See It Again. When I predicted his fall, 13,000 copies of Daily Times were burnt because it was satire and my bosses didn't see it. It was after the first edition had gone to the north and to the east that somebody drew their attention to it. And Baba just panicked and radioed all the distribution vehicles, to come back to Kakawa.
Why did he panic?
They didn't want Gowon to see it. They felt that if Gowon saw that article and they would close down the Daily Times and probably send me to jail. So the copies were brought and 30,000 copies of Daily Times were burnt. So that day, that morning, there was no Daily Times in the north and Daily Times in the east.
Because of Tola Adeniyi?
Yes, because of Abba Said.
Abba Said?
Yes.
Now, look at this book. This is Abba Said. This is Abba Said. It is the literary biography of Chief Tola Adeniyi. Have you read this book? I recommend this book to you. Abba Said. Let me read the preface here. A preface written by one of your colleagues.
Okay.
Bolakbo. Ogunso.
Yes.
He says it is gratifying that the title of his Nigerian Tribune column, Till Death Do Us Part, did not eventually become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Why did you title your column Till Death Do Us Part?
I just thought we've come to the end of the road. I mean, as far as I was concerned at that time, it's only death that could separate me from what I was writing, from my condemnation, and from the agony that I was going through about Nigeria. And I wrote till there's those parts. So challenging or daring Obasanjo or daring anybody, Shagari, to come and take me and take my life.
From your writing, it is clear you are not scared of death.
Certainly not, never. But I'm scared of kidnappers.
Why are you scared of kidnappers?
Because it's saddening when 16-year-old, 17-year-old, unwashed, unkempt hooligans, keep you captive and they torture you and humiliate you. I detest humiliation. If you want to kill me, just kill me. I'm not afraid of death at all. I wrote in one of the poems when I was much younger that I don't believe in death. People don't die.
They transform, as you said.
Yeah, they continue in the continuum. You don't writers in particular, and those who see tomorrow, those who have written or sometimes have been written about them, they don't die. People who have done so well in their face, in this physical face, they don't die. Because what is death? Just the change of physical body, which never existed on its own. The body is just a garment. It's just like a box. It never existed, never had any life. This body never had any life. So, to that extent, the owner of that body, the person in that body, the soul in that body doesn't die. And that's why I say it can never die. Awolowo will never die.
Where's Awolowo now?
It's with us. It's in the continuum. It's going on. I mean, Awolowo is mentioned every day. In one form or the other. Such people don't die.
That was a man you also worked with at some point.
I did, and I loved him. And I still love him.
But you quarreled with him at some point.
I did, of course I did.
And you gave him a piece of your mind.
Oh yes, in a terrible way. I mean, the way nobody has ever dared look in his face. And
how did he receive it?
Well, I mean, he knew I was angry, and several people were involved. I mean, Justice Adisa was asked to call me. Professor Ujabi was sent to Ibadan to collect me, to plead with me. So many people. Bola Ige and his wife came to my house. No, don't quarrel with leader, I know that. And we made it up. I mean, I allowed him to use my paper till Sunday stamp for his campaign in '83. We became good friends again. In any case, my father's second wife is Awolowo's niece, so I couldn't have quarreled with Awolowo.
Who was he? What was unique about him?
If it were in the days of Shango and Obatala, I mean, Awolowo should have been deified. He did more to the Yoruba than any of the gods they are talking about.
So what's stopping us from making him a god?
Because since Shango, the last of the Yoruba deities, they've not created another deity. That's all.
So what's stopping us from creating new deities?
Well, I have created him. I call him an Orisha. For me, he's a deity.
Awolowo is a deity.
Yes, he is.
What makes him a deity?
His extraordinariness, his intellect, his courage, his service, his selflessness, his vision and visionariness. The man who saw 1 million years ahead of him. The man who was feared by death. Death was afraid of Awolowo. He was that powerful. He was that great.
Was it a mistake to have sent him to prison?
Well, political imprisonment. It wasn't a mistake for those who did it. It was cheering news to them.
And Nigeria paid for it?
Oh yes, and we are still paying for it. If Awolowo had become president in 1979, we won't be where we are today. He meant well for Nigeria. He meant well for humanity. He was a people's man.
Did he mean well for the Igbos?
He meant well for everybody. If he didn't mean well for Igbos, he won't make Igbo man his running mate.
That was after the war.
No, in '79, he made this. If he didn't like them during the war or after the war? How could he make his running mate an Igbo man?
You know, some Igbos are angry that during the war, he was the finance commissioner of Nigeria.
Yeah, and number 2 man.
And number 2 man.
Yes.
Some said he made the argument that hunger is a legitimate instrument of war.
Yeah, but that's a known fact anywhere in the world. Starvation is a legitimate weapon of war. And it wasn't the head of state. And in any case, like I argued with one of my friends, I have a lot of people friends, quite close friends, like I mentioned, Obiazo and so many of them. If Awolowo was the subject of their hate and derision, what is the character of the Igbo man that he will go back to the same people who opened their wives' wombs and took out babies and put the fetus of babies into the mouth of the woman, and they still go back to such places? And here in Yoruba land, nothing of such had happened to them. Why should they continue to make friends with people who never regarded them as human beings? Not even as recent as some 80 years ago, or even 4 years ago, 80 years ago, thereabout, Buhari was calling them a dot in a circle. You know. What is the character of the Igbos to make them to continue to go to Kano, to go to Jos, to go to Zaria, to go to such places?
Perhaps the character of one Nigeria.
No. Greed, commerce, and all that.
So you're saying that on a good day after what happened before the war and after the war,
no Yoruba man will go back to where their wives and children were treated the way the Igbos were treated. No Yoruba man will ever go back there. None. I can say that with all authority at my disposal.
But the Igbos went back.
Yeah.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
Yeah, should I say the Chief Tola Adeniyi interview part 1? I have not promised part 2, but it's likely to come. And you can also check my YouTube channels for the full interview as we go. You want to say something? Okay, at this point, I'll give you 30 seconds to make a comment. Call the radio station on 070694 93000 or 070144 75770. 30 seconds. All right. So let's see. Who goes there?
Hello.
Good morning.
Edmond, is Mr. Ken?
Yes, Mr. Ken.
Yes. That man is a truly Nigerian. It's a Nigerian to the core. Because that man has spoken the minds of the people.
All right, thank you. You just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. But if every one of them can be like that in Western region, Nigeria will be better.
All right, thank you. 30 seconds, and I want to insist. 30 seconds. You hit the nail on the head. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the ball is in your court.
Yeah, Okonji Patrick is the name from Bolu, Nigeria.
All right.
And I'm delighted at some of the comments of your visitor there, especially when he said that Nigeria is not working. Yes, clearly Nigeria is not working. Though I know that we have people of different thinkings. Some people are deep thinkers. When they have problem, the problem rests on their heart every minute of this life. Since I have that Nigeria is not working, it's been a problem for me and for people around me.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Joshua Livingstone says in Nigeria, visionary leaders dream of giants, awakened schools, roads, and power for all. Yet the short-sighted cling to power, blind to a future they can't comprehend. Akintunde Damilare says, God increase your knowledge about Ife Modakeke crisis. I was nearly killed during the crisis. I thank God for his divine intervention. If not, I would have gone. And you are still with us. I'm happy you are with us. All right. John Onyishi is saying most Nigerians are visionary people, for short. But why is it that as soon as they are elected or selected into leadership positions, they become missionaries? In other words, our leaders don't have vision, but mission, and their mission is to milk our commonwealth. All right, we'll take the last call before we go. 30 seconds. Good morning.
Thank you. I think they are talking well from media to voter. Let's hear how come is better country. Thank you.
Thank you. If Africa is to rise, we must all adopt the mindsets of visionaries. We must demand more from our leaders and more from ourselves. We must build, innovate, and dream beyond the limitations of today. The past has been written, but the future is ours to shape. Africa must learn from leaders like Mandela, Obafemi Awolowo, Lee Kuan Yew, and Deng Xiaoping. Africa must reject the politics of division and embrace the vision of unity and development. Remember, when there is no enemy within, the enemy outside cannot harm you. Africa's greatest battles are not with the outsiders, but with its own leadership failures. It is time for a new generation of visionaries to rise. I am Edmond Opilo. Next week is another time. Thank you for being there. The next program is Ijoba Tiwa with Sheun Special. It is Splash 1.